first. I mean, I think it's the easiest one. Thank you for starting the live stream. And as we get started, welcome to Public Health Minority Health Disparities Subcommittee on March the 6th. As we get started, I wanted to thank everyone for being flexible. With a week and a half until crossover, things are going to be moving quickly. We're going to be dealing with some emotional issues, and we're trying not only to get these bills across the finish line, but to make sure we have a product coming out of our committee of which we can all be proud. So for anyone new to our process, the bill hearings are the opportunity for the public to make their will known on any legislation. The subcommittee is for the members to work through any questions or concerns they have with the legislation. So I do apologize if I cannot recognize everyone on every bill, as we have to be sensitive to the session schedule. I do ask that you wait to be recognized and know that sometimes we cannot find consensus on every issue, and we simply have to make a policy decision. So everyone who is invited to subcommittee is invited because you testified on the bill. And I promise we listened, we read, we weigh our decisions carefully. So I just want to make sure that all of our stakeholders are aware that that though we do a lot of work in subcommittee, we do a lot of work outside of subcommittee as well. So thank you all for being here today. We're going to start with House Bill 1230. We started the discussion yesterday. We actually paired the discussion of House Bill 1229 and 1230. That's Public Health Kratom Consumer Protection Act and Public Health tianeptine Consumer Protection Act. The reason we're starting with 1230 is it's pretty straightforward. We are amending this as a ban on the sale of tianeptine in Maryland. And Aaron, if you can talk us through the bill and the proposed amendment.
You have a reprint of the bill that was distributed yesterday, and we discussed yesterday that the bill sponsor, Delegate Payne-Monick, would like the bill amended to be a total ban. So the bill as amended would provide that a retailer may not distribute, sell, expose for sale, or advertise for sale a tianeptine product to an individual. The bill as introduced was only a ban to individuals under the age of 21, so this would be a ban to any individual. Then she also would like to raise the fines for a retailer who violates the ban from $500 to $5,000. And that would be the bill as amended.
Thank you, Aaron. Can I get a motion on the amendment?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Let's go ahead and open it up for discussion. Delegate Riley. Oh. Do you need a moment, Delegate Riley?
Sorry about that. So this is the responsibilities on the retailer. Do retailers always know that this is in the products? That's my only concern at this point. Can you hear me?
Yes. I'm looking to see if we have an answer from because my understanding is that this is
and I know it's a product that even, were alerted at the borders, and in testimony, they said that, Homeland Security and everybody at the borders are trying to stop this product from coming over. It's dangerous. And apparently people are putting it in their products, manufacturers, but does the retailer know that? Because they're the ones that are going to be fined, right?
So we just want to clarify that the discussion yesterday was on 1229, the kratom, which is what started out as tea, and it's in gummies.
Right.
But tianeptine,
right. What's this in?
It is right. It's marketed as tianeptine. Currently, it's what's being sold in gas stations, in other convenience stores. Do we have an answer on, is it
right? Do they know that it's in the product, and what type of products are we talking about?
The bill specifies as a definition of tianeptine product means a product that is marketed for human consumption containing any amount of tianeptine, sodium or tianeptine sulfate. I think the retailer would be aware.
Okay, do we?
We
would
did
like
not
to
hear
know.
evidence that the retailers were not aware, and the retailers did not come in opposition.
Okay.
Do you have other questions, Delegate Riley?
No, I'm just gonna probably, vote no now, and then I'll reach out to the retailers just to make sure if they're aware of, if this is actually written. I mean, is it on the label, or they, do they know about it? And things like that, because it's kind of bad if they're not gonna know, and then all of a sudden they get the fine, since now we're raising the fine as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I mean, hopefully that on the labeling, it would be like a real warning sign is what, I think should happen. But
Well, and
can't regulate
again,
that.
our understanding is that it's already it's already on the labeling,
Okay,
that that it's in there. And we did not get concerns from the retailers, but I do appreciate if you want to
okay. Yeah, and then I could probably hold off, and then I could vote for it on the floor. That'd be fine. If
Okay.
I find that out. So I'll make a phone call today.
Okay, perfect.
Thank
And
you.
right now we're on the amendments. So on the amendments, we have moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed to the amendments, go ahead and raise your hand in the chat. All right, can I have a motion on the bill as amended?
Move the bill.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on, this is 1230, which is the ban on tianeptine. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed, go ahead and raise your hand in the chat. We have Delegate Riley. And you're gonna reach out to the
Yes, I will. Thank you.
And can you let us know when you've had that conversation?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right, so 1230 passes not unanimously. And on further review, that may change, but we want to give Delegate Riley an opportunity to reach out to the retailers. Now I want to have the conversation on 1229. This is Kratom, the Kratom Consumer Protection Act. This one we're taking some more baby steps in terms of making sure that it is prohibited from being sold to anyone under the age of 21, that it is prohibited from being marketed with as therapeutic benefits. Aaron, if you can walk us through the bill, the proposed amendments. And I do want to remind the body that we did have testimony from the recovery community that that Kratom has been used in their recovery, although they cannot market with therapeutic benefits. So that's why we're trying to find the balance here. Go ahead, Aaron.
This bill requires a retailer that prepares, distributes, sells, or exposes for sale a Kratom product to disclose on the product label the factual basis on which the representation is made. A retailer is prohibited from preparing, distributing, selling, or exposing for sale a Kratom product that does not comply with the specified disclosure or that is adulterated with, contaminated with, or contains other substances. They are also prohibited from distributing, selling, or exposing for sale a Kratom product to an individual younger than 21. A violator is guilty of a misdemeanor and subject to a criminal penalty. In addition, a retailer may not advertise the therapeutic benefits of Kratom or market a Kratom product to minors. The MDH must adopt regulations to implement the bill and collaborate with the Maryland Hospital Association to report to the General Assembly by December 31st, 2025 on the number of adverse health events observed in individuals after the use of opioid-like substances. And there were amendments that are being offered by the bill sponsor. They strike references to the product being a food, and that was at the request of the Maryland Department of Health. And there are also amendments that raise the penalties to be more in line actually with the tianeptine ban. They raise it to a $5,000 penalty. And then the bills introduced was a restriction on marketing to minors with some very specified information on how that the product could be marketed to, could not be marketed to minors. And then there's additional language that the product in general cannot be marketed or advertised as having therapeutic benefits. And there's a reprint that was provided yesterday.
Thank you, Erin. Can I get a motion on the amendments?
Move the amendments.
Second.
All right, amendments have been moved and seconded. Do we have questions or concerns from the members? Okay, on the amendments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, go ahead and raise your hand. Do we have a motion on
Bill
the,
as
uh,
amended.
Second.
all right, bill's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the bill as amended? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Delegate Riley, you want to reach out to the
Same
retailers again?
posture, yep.
Yep, same.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, we have one more bill for today, and that is House Bill 1019, Mental Health Law Petitions for Emergency Evaluation. I know that Delegate Alston has been doing yeoman's work, meeting with everybody, trying to find consensus, and I know we have an update. Erin, go ahead and walk us through where we are with this bill.
Okay, you were provided a reprint this morning that reflects some conversations that Delegate Alston had with the Office of the Public Defender and some advocates who testified at the bill hearing. As amended further, the bill would provide that the bill is introduced provided that an emergency petition would be effective for 5 days after being endorsed by the court. And then the court may extend the petition for good cause shown. And that has been clarified that that good cause must be based on the presenting behavior of the individual. And it could be extended for an additional 5 days. It's also been further amended to provide that if a petition is endorsed or extended under the bill for those 5 days, that it shall be served expeditiously. Then there's further clarifying language regarding the use of force, and that is in lines 22 and 23 of page 2 of the bill. And that provides that a peace officer may use force that is necessary and proportional to prevent an imminent threat of physical injury to a person when executing a petition if the peace officer first uses de-escalation techniques. And that's modeled after language in the public safety article.
Move the
Let's-
amendments.
Let's move the amendments, and then we're
Second.
all right, they've been moved and seconded, so we're going to adopt these amendments, and then we're going to have a further discussion on an amendment we don't yet have, but we have in concept. So the amendments have been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
I wanted to question on the amendments.
Sorry. Is there a question on the amendments?
Yeah, so Delegate Austin, just to clarify, and I apologize, but I wasn't there for the bill hearing. I want to be clear about my understanding is an emergency petition is someone is acting a certain way, they're threatening to themselves or others, and the court is being asked, should this person be committed to the hospital? What does it mean to extend that for 5? I don't know what that means. That's not the time they're in the hospital. What does a 5-day extension mean?
Yeah, so what happens sometimes, and it's a very rare occasion, is that they can't find the person. So if the person is homeless or they leave the location where they're at, let's say they're at mom's house, but they leave because they know that they're about to be taken to the hospital against their will, they leave. And instead of having the parent or whoever the interested party is go back to the court and file a brand new petition, which is what happens now, they could go back and file a motion saying that the sheriffs have been unable to serve, the behavior is still presenting. Can you please extend this to give the sheriffs the time to serve the actual petition?
Okay, so in some ways it's like a mental health APB. It's
I'm not
saying
sure.
for 5 days you can continue to look for this person. Got it. Thank
Yes. Yep. Thank you.
Delegate Rosenberg and then Delegate Lewis.
Is everybody on board with these amendments? On board for the bill as amended?
Are you talking about the stakeholders?
Yes.
I will say, I will not speak for them, but I will say philosophically, we do not have consensus, around emergency petitions. But
In general, right.
but the stakeholders all helped get us to a better language. And I see we have hands actually from the Office of the Public Defender and from Honor in Maryland. So Elizabeth Hilliard, and then Michelle Livshin, go ahead. Let me start with Elizabeth.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your question, Delegate, and thank you for all the hard work that you all have put into this. We do remain opposed. We think it is much better where it is now, but we do remain opposed because the extension process erodes the structure and protections built into the current EP process. And we are sort of, as Delegate Bagnall was indicating, we're fundamentally opposed to the codification of using a law enforcement response and to a mental health crisis. But again, we appreciate all the work. There's been so much work put into it. We really, really appreciate it. But we do remain opposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle, go ahead.
I just want to echo like the thanks and gratitude for both Delegate Alston and Delegate Bagnall. Like yesterday, we had a long conversation and we talked through the use of force and we talked through how to potentially provide protections within this bill. So truly thank you for taking the time to listen to us. And similarly to OPD, we still have serious concerns about not having evaluation or accountability protections about the use of force and good cause requirements. And we're fearful that the implementation may go beyond the scope without the appropriate safeguards. So we just have some concerns, and this largely comes from seeing the misuse of emergency petitions within our network currently. And so those are some of our concerns currently.
Thank you. And let me go to my members, and then we're going to go back to NAMI and to Disability Rights Maryland, who are both here. And Evelyn, I know you're NAMI and the psychological. I'm forgetting the organization. I'm sorry. It's early. Delegate Lewis, and then we'll go back.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you to the bill sponsor, Delegate Alston. There's so much thoughtful work that's been done around this bill. We obviously really want to get it right. And I appreciate Delegate Alston's leadership and all of the stakeholders giving input. I did have some misgivings about some of the language in the earlier version of the bill before it was amended as we have it with us today. I talked with Delegate Alston about my concerns. I also spoke with you, Madam Chair, about my questions. I just would like to unburden myself a little bit to make sure I understand this and that I'm representing the priorities of my own constituents. I represent the 46th district in Baltimore City. As you guys know, Baltimore City has a long history of police corruption. And we are currently still under a Department of Justice consent decree for our police department. We are trying our and we're also, if that wasn't enough, we have been over the last few years in the process of returning our police department to local control. Baltimore City is the only jurisdiction in the state whose police department was essentially under state control. We had to change the constitution, the city charter rather, and there's a bill before the legislature this year to really take us over. Point is, we have a lot of challenges with regard to trust in law enforcement, and my constituents are very sensitized to any potential risk that sets up adversarial interactions, particularly with vulnerable people. So I spoke with Delegate Alston about this, and she totally understood. I just want to say, when it comes to use of force, the language in the amended bill makes sense to me. I know that we've done all this work in our legislature over the last couple of years to link a kind of people-centered social work, partnered interventions. And I just hope we continue to do that. So I look forward to see how we learn from this emergency petition bill. I believe there's a reporting requirement. So I had misgivings, but I think they've been addressed. Thank you for listening, letting me, work it through out loud. Thank you.
Well, and I greatly appreciate your comments, Delegate Lewis. And I actually am going to give Delegate Alston an opportunity to respond, because we do have, we actually are going to be considering a concept amendment we do not yet have in response to these concerns. So Delegate Alston.
Thank you. So I spoke with our sheriff in Prince George's County this morning, and also with our council. And I think what we've come up with is, instead of trying to create the language around how use of force is done, that we will just reference the public safety article where all of the work has already been done and the reporting requirements are there. And so I think that makes it clear, because they're already under the public safety article anyway, and they're already using it because they have to. So it's just making it clear that in these situations, they are to follow the same guidelines under the public safety article as it relates to force.
And I think that will alleviate some of the concerns that many of the stakeholders had, that highlighting that language was sort of putting the thumb on the scale of use of force, as opposed to referencing the public safety article, which will actually remove that language from this part of the statute. So I really appreciate Delegate Alston's yeoman's work on this. That is the conceptual amendment that we will also be considering. And Aaron, can we consider them all at once? We have a motion and a second. So so we can add this to the amendments that we are considering.
Yeah, it would be the bill as amended before you, plus the conceptual amendment that would alter that force language.
So thank you. And I know I had a hand from Evelyn Burton. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I didn't get the reprint or the amendment, so it's a little hard for me to comment, but what I had asked for was an amendment that clearly specified not just the use of de-escalation techniques, but basically extensive use for like 4 hours, not just, 5 minutes or something. And also to request.
And very respectfully, we don't get that prescriptive in our statute.
Can you read us what the new amendment is? I mean, it's hard to comment without knowing what the language is. Is there any option to require requesting a mental health professional before use of force is used?
Again, this is just the emergency petition process.
Yeah.
And we're referencing the public safety article. So we're not going to change the public safety article.
So what is the public safety article say?
You're talking about we actually added the de-escalation into our statute, but the public safety article is the necessary and proportional to prevent an imminent threat of physical injury to a person. But we're taking that language out of this statute and just referencing the public health safety article where that language already exists.
So there will be no requirement for de-escalation then, will there?
Yes, there will. We're putting that in this statute.
In the public safety statute.
In the emergency evaluation statute.
I see. All right. Well, it's better than nothing. Also, I just wanted to comment about the extension process. If somebody is missing, the family is not going to know any current behavior. They can only go based on what the original threats or behavior were. And they won't even know whether or not the petition was executed, because the emergency room doesn't call the petitioner.
And Ms. Burton, I actually have a response from Delegate Alston.
Good.
Thank you. I would say that in that case, then they wouldn't qualify for an extension. The extension is designed for people who are coming back and forth and still exhibiting behavior. So they might leave for 2 or 3 days, they come back and they're still exhibiting those behaviors. Then you can get the extension because they haven't been able to catch the person at the location. And often they could be going, like there's one situation that I know of where the person leaves and goes to Washington, D.C., so that they're outside of the jurisdiction. And when the 5 days is over, they come back, but they're still exhibiting the same behaviors that are dangerous. So in that case, when the person comes back, they could get them served. But if they're completely missing, no one has seen them, and you don't know that there's any new behavior, then you wouldn't qualify for the extension because there would be no good cause.
I see. Well, I guess we would like it considered that they have 10 days instead of 5 days, but, and also, you know, will there be instructions on the petition for the family as to how to do this extension?
That will be for the court to determine how they draft their orders. But yeah, they would have to file a motion and come back to court and file a motion.
All right, I would hope that it could be done, you know, with consideration to the family, that they don't have to physically go back to court, because it is a traumatic experience. And it's not easy for a family to do.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Burton. Do I have any other questions from the members? Delegate Hill.
Thank you. Delegate Alston, under the process, whether it's different from what it is now or would be going forward, and when it's extended, if the person is picked up, is there automatically a notification to whoever filed the petition, or whoever called for a family member, or whoever, or so that they know? In other words, when in the immediate moment, if the person's there, I may know that, you know, my son has been picked up. And so I know that the process is going on. If they pick them up 3 or 4 days later under this extension, is there anything, or do we need to put something in that at the point that they're picked up, that the family or whoever issued the petition or requested the petition would be notified, so they know I don't have to worry that he's going to come in the middle, you know, whatever it is there notification?
If I could defer to Captain Weissman, I want to say it's probably not, because remember, these petitions are sealed. And so once they are served, the confidentiality is there. The confidentiality is there the whole time. But Captain Weissman, I don't know if you can illuminate on that.
If you can just speak to the current process, because I think it would still be the same regardless of whether it was, because it's still the same petition. It's just extended. Captain Weissman, are you available?
Yes, can you guys all hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity. I apologize, I'm kind of mobile this morning. Right now, it depends on the situation. As Delegate Alston said, you know, the records are supposed to be confidential, but usually we work with the family or the petitioner to learn the locations or the usual hangout spots of where they are. So sometimes we're working in tangent with each other, so that they're aware that we've served it, because we're out looking, you know, in the community parks or at the different restaurants that they frequent. So we try to stay in contact with the individuals, but like you said, there is some confidentiality. So I don't think that it necessarily says that we can tell them that we've had contact with their individual and they're safe, but we can't give them more details about the information of which hospital we're taking them to, or, you know, what their medical services are. We can give them some limited information to kind of let them know that they're safe, but obviously we don't want to violate any HIPAA violations.
Right, so that would be the question, Delegate Alston. Since that's how, what I just heard, under most circumstances currently, they try to operate that way and let the petitioner know it's been taken care of, or we make contact, no other information is given. on this extension, would it be a nice, belt over suspender to say in the case of an extension, if the petition is served, notification simply that contact has been made or notification of service without any additional information should be given or shall be given or may be given, to make it clear that, in the moment, if you're working with the family or the petitioner, it makes sense that you would think, well, we can just do that without crossing any HIPAA guidelines. I'm not sure an officer 5 days later or 3 days later would know if it's okay for me to go back into the petitioner and say, we made contact. That's all I can tell you.
And I'm not sure at that point if we would not be violating the court order because it's sealed and they're not allowed to talk about it and all the confidentiality. So I would have to run that. I think we're going to mess with the court, and I think the public defender's office would definitely have major issues because now we're letting people know that this person has been
Is that the same
hospitalized.
thing as saying that someone's not on?
They're
Okay.
safe.
So I don't want to push that if I don't want to disrupt this, but maybe
I'm just concerned we'll lose the court if we
right,
tell them
right.
that
So I don't
somebody.
want to push it, but maybe we can go ahead and move the amendments in the bill, Madam Chair, and someone can ask.
Yeah, we're already
into
having
consideration.
conversations with judiciary on
Okay.
some reporting and how we can thread that needle without violating HIPAA or jurisprudence or privacy.
Right.
So we will add that to the conversations to
Thank you.
see how we can thread that needle. Thank you very much, Delegate Hill. Any further questions from the members? And I did open my participants because I realized I wasn't seeing all the hands. All right, seeing none, the amendments have been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, go ahead and raise your hand. Do we have a motion on the bill?
The bill is
Move the
amended.
bill. Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, go ahead and raise your hand. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of the stakeholders who worked with Delegate Alston, myself, and Aaron to get us to a place where I think, even if we don't have consensus, that everyone feels like we're much, much more comfortable with ensuring that this statute is meeting the intent and not opening us up to unintended consequences for some of our most vulnerable Marylanders. So thank you to everyone for all your good work. And with that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. I will see you all on the floor.